Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to another weather forecast here. In this video, we're going to be talking about Invest 95L, which most likely, I believe, will be tropical depression 28 extremely soon by the end of today, maybe even the 5 o'clock update here, as it is getting extremely organized here. Convection is really blowing up. That low pressure is really trying to get close. It's not there yet, but it's trying to get there. It didn't look super organized yesterday, but it's looking a lot more organized, especially for an investigation area. It is now sitting at a 90% chance, though, for the next 48 hours and 5 days, and most likely will be travels from Zeta within that 24 or 30 hour time frame, maybe even a little bit sooner if it continues to go at the rate of organization that it is now. It does have variable atmospheric condition for the next few days, sitting in the Western Caribbean with no shear. Warmest waters it'll go through, and really kind of getting that moisture bubble before it goes out into the dry and very sheary and cold Gulf of Mexico, where it'll most likely stay and probably weaken. So hurricane for this, now that's going to go kind of into the Gulf deeply, it probably won't be a hurricane, but we'll see as a low end to mid tropical storm. So here's look now at the National Hurricane Center, and now you can see we do have, there it is, at a 90% chance for the next 5 days, including 48 hours. Radar is indicated that it has a broad low pressure system southwest of the Grand Cayman Islands, and the ground is becoming better organized. Like I did say, it's definitely becoming a lot more organized in this area of uncertainty of where to form has moved a lot more to the west. So doesn't seem like it's going to go where some of the models were showing it, some of the intensity or some of the guidances were taking it, but it seems like it's going to go kind of west northwest and do like a northern turn. It's looking like it could very well hit Alabama, if not maybe even the Florida Panhandle at this point. So it still seems that the Florida could still be the main target right now, but rising concerns are for Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama. But as of now, it seems that Florida does have the best chance still for development, or for landfall, but it'll be rather weak. So I wouldn't really consider evacuating unless you want to. But Epsilon's still really shocking. It's 80 miles an hour, a Category 1, yet it has pressure of 958. 958 millibar pressure is kind of equal to a Category 3 hurricane. So it's really interesting to see how the pressure isn't dropping that fast or fast at all. It's really, it's gone down in pressure 10 millibars compared to last time I made a video. Yesterday it was at 968 millibars, I recall, and it's moving northeast now at 13 miles an hour, but we're going to be focusing on 95L in much of this video, if not all of the video. So let's go and take a look at 95L. So here, look now at the IR for not tropical storm Zeta, yes, but for 95L. I wanted to call it tropical storm. But you do see it's actually looking a lot better. It truly is. You do see it's not too far off the coast of Nicaragua. It's not really off the coast. It's not too far off the coast of Nicaragua, but it is expected to kind of through this general area, start to go more of kind of northwestish, not kind of at the point where it's going just west. That's what we've been seeing, which is why the potential for it actually going towards Cuba has minimized quite significantly. But you do see it's looking really good for an invest. Obviously, you got to remember, this is an invest. It's looking really good for an invest. You can really start to see if we can actually go on visible satellite imagery here. If you're looking at visible satellite imagery, if this could actually load quite quickly, that would be great if it does load. Let's check out, and I'm putting my yellow pen here so you can actually see. Kind of do see some outflow. You can see the outflow right here. It is very, very good outflow. You can really see the outflow like that. Obviously, there. It's looking really good. The outflow, actually, really the most outflow impressive is right here. You can really see the outflow, and you can kind of see the energy going inside the system, or the air investigation. Or invest for sure, but I do see, it's looking pretty good for an invest there. You can kind of see that low pressure. It's most likely the low pressure is around right here between this whole junction of this convection, but see that the western quadrants do have the most convection, but see that we do have some pretty impressive banding formations starting to develop It doesn't mean it's going to be a tropical storm super soon because of that banding. Because obviously we've seen Invest have banding, and they look pretty impressive. So this could just be some character development. Basically, you can kind of see the banding. You can really see, of course, the outflow. So I mean, it's looking really good for an Invest, especially compared to what it looked like yesterday. It is looking pretty organized. I can't just say it enough that it's looking organized. You're probably gonna hear that word quite a lot throughout the video, and I do apologize if it's getting annoying. Alright, so here's look at the sea surface temperatures, and as you do see there, 29-30 degrees Celsius waters. There it is off the coast of Nicaragua and Honduras. It is near the coast. You're probably thinking that it's gonna have interaction with Central America like Marco did. That's gonna help weaken it or rip it apart. Well, that's only if it was continuing to move kind of westward. At this point, it's starting to now go more northwestish. That's kind of it's something like that. That's kind of this is not the perfect area. It's not the most perfect track, but this is kind of what I'm showing here. But I do see the concerns here. Not only are there concerns in the Gulf that will help prevent this being a hurricane or significant, like Laura, Sally, Delta, Marco in the Gulf, or Marco before it died in the Gulf, is that not only is the Gulf really just blown up with dry air, it's blown up with shear, but not only that, these cooler waters are really extending. We all know, or most of us know, if you're new, and obviously learning more things is good, but the majority of us do know that in order to withstand a tropical low, you need at least waters at least at 26 degrees Celsius. That's at least a minimum. If it's below 26 degrees Celsius, it doesn't mean that a hurricane's gonna just die apart like that. It just means it's gonna gradually, significantly weaken. And the thing is, we do have 26 and 25 and even 24 degrees Celsius waters off the coast of the Gulf because of those very large cold fronts that have come in and out this month. And there's actually not even a relief because we all know the video I just made this morning. There's a massive cold front coming in that's going to impact the south central, and that will most likely cool the waters even more significantly before this does get into the Gulf Coast or the Gulf beaches for say the coastline. But it does have a time frame of warm waters that are above 26 from here to its current location, which is right here. So you're probably thinking it has a chance to be a hurricane. Look how far this is. This is at least 900 miles. That's probably what you're thinking, but like I said, it's not just the waters that come into hand. You have to think about the shear. You have to think about the bridge. You have to think about obviously the dry air. That all comes into play, not just SSTs. The reason why I did say this has favorable condition in the next few days is because not only is it where it is have very warm waters, it does have no shear and it does have a moisture bubble. But once it gets past the Gulf, or it gets past the Yucatan Peninsula, Yucatan waters, once it passes that boundary, it's just going to be a death zone. This is just a death trap for it to fall apart because, I mean, you're going to see in the end, in the video, I'm going to be showing, I'm going to be showing the shear and the dry air. But I do see there's still what ifs there's still a small chance this could go straight up north at this point and hit the western coast of Florida, such as Tampa, such as that general area. There's still a small chance that could happen, but at this point, it's not the trend. The trend is, like I did show in the National Hurricane Center when I was at the beginning of the video, this is going to kind of, where development is going to kind of go west-northwest, kind of, or northwest. It really just depends, and then kind of turn like Sally did, for example. Sally was going through here. It was kind of going straight for Louisiana, and then it did a turn like that. It's going to be like a sharp turn that we usually see, like we typically see we also saw that with Laura. Obviously, Laura, it was heading for the areas of Texas, and then it's the sharp turn into Cameron. That's really just the typical thing we're gonna be seeing. So there's a chance it could kind of not do that turn to the west northwest and hit the Florida coast, mainly the west coast, obviously. Or the trend is that it kind of goes west northwest and it hits kind of exactly where Sally hit. Sally, you could argue if Sally hit Florida, if it made landfall in Florida or Alabama, it basically made landfall right on the border. You can argue both ways, but it's going to be landing the general area, and I do expect an eastward trend. I do expect it, since it will be going straight up due north right now for the next 24 hours. I do expect it not to go like a sharp far west northwest turn out of nowhere. I kind of do see kind of a more minimal west northwest turn, or more like northwest, almost due north, and then it possibly like hits the Florida Panhandle. I think there is a chance for an eastward trend. We have already seen an eastward trend today. Let's check out another model on guidance here on tracks. As you see, there is a majority that's showing that trend, of course, kind of going west northwest or northwest. I mean, it's going to be kind of both west northwest or northwest, and then making landfall right on the Alabama Mississippi border. And then we obviously have a few models getting to the Panhandle. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 models getting to the Panhandle, and we do have around 3 or 4 getting it to the Mississippi Alabama border. We have 1 taking all the way up to Miami, right on the coast, going up into New Jersey. Obviously, that's kind of too late to happen. And then we have 3 making landfall in Louisiana. So it's kind of a variety, but I do think it's going to hit Florida Panhandle or Alabama border. I mean, let me just say, it's going to make landfall around kind of around the vicinity of where Sally made landfall. That's kind of my prediction. I'm not going to say Louisiana, Mississippi. I think Mississippi obviously will get some impacts with the rain and storm surge. I really don't see a storm surge threat with this. I know I always say when there's a system heading for land, the biggest threat is storm surge. In this case, I think it might just be the rain that's going to be the biggest threat, because it's going to be really at its minimum the whole time. Even if it's strengthened, it's still going to be rather weak. And it's going to be rather weak not only at its peak, it's going to be a lot weaker when it makes landfall because of those cold waters. So not only its maximum strength will probably be 60 to 70 miles an hour, and that's being generous. And it won't make landfall at its peak strength. It'll probably make landfall 5 to 15 mile an hour weaker. So that's a 40 to probably 55 mile an hour landfall. And the Gulf Coast can take that. I mean, they can easily take that without having to have sandbags. And that storm surge in that will probably be 1 to 2 feet max. I mean, you probably want to see storm surge 50 miles away from where it actually makes landfall, unlike Laura and Sally and Delta that had storm surge hundreds of miles away. But like I said, the max is 65 miles an hour. That's the top max. But the majority are getting it between 40 miles an hour and between 50 miles an hour and 55 miles an hour. That's the majority. And then obviously it's going to weaken before landfall a few miles an hour. It could be 5, it could be 10. Really, the biggest factor in its weakening or strength is obviously its speed of the speed it's moving at. So here, looking at the GFS here, and they're a little bit more reasonable based on what they showed you yesterday. This is the 12Z for today. They do show it sitting at 1,006 millibars in the next 6 hours, now getting to 1,005, and then weakening a tad, and then strengthening once again to 1,004 millibars, and then probably skinning the Cancun area. They're taking it way to the west. I mean, way almost at the Bay of Campeche, and then of course it will take that northern turn. The more west this goes, that means the more west the landfall will be in the Gulf Coast. So if it does, for example, what I think could happen, that it goes kind of due north for a little bit longer, and then it slides turns to the northwest, and then it kind of makes landfall. That's kind of what I'm thinking. That's the highest That's most likely outcome in my opinion. I'm not saying that's gonna happen. I'm just saying that's the most likely outcome in my opinion. But if you're taking the GFS, like going way west, that's gonna probably make a landfall for Louisiana instead. So there's a big area of possibilities that can be anywhere from this to anywhere from the Zeta project. The two most likely outcomes here. Let's go ahead and see what they show. Like I said, they show making landfall in Louisiana, very weak, 1,004, 1,003 millibars max, and it's going to continue to bring. Like I said, the rain's going to be the biggest threat, really at all for really everything. And that rain's only going to be like 3-5 inches of rain. So really, I mean, this isn't a super duper serious system, but it's still a Greek name storm in October still. Like I did say, let's go to the next 0 hours. Like I did say, it does have very little dry air in the area. It has a moisture, or it had a very good moisture bowl yesterday, but it's starting to get a little bit opened up. Like I did say, there we got the impressive amount of dry air in the Gulf of Mexico. I'm just saying, if this is a 50 to 55 mile an hour tropical storm, it's going to be going into this massive blob of dry air already going in the Gulf without a moisture bubble. Already an open low. I'm telling you, this is gonna definitely weaken and not strengthen. I mean, even if it was like a category 2 going in this, it still would weaken pretty significantly. And obviously, you have to think about as well the cooler waters. It's negative on each thing you look at. It's negative if for the storm. Well, is it going in the Gulf of Mexico already very organized? Not really. Does it have a moisture bubble already going in the Gulf of Mexico? No. Is it strong going in the Gulf? No. Is it new going in the Gulf? Yes, it's new going in the Gulf. It's very new. It's not a super. It's not been alive for that long. Only 2 days around that. Is there a ton of dry air? Absolutely. And is there a ton of shear? Absolutely. I mean, anything you look at, it's just negative for the storm's survival. Obviously, it won't be like a post-tropical depression before landfall. I'm just saying it's gonna definitely have trouble strengthening, and the factor will be weakening after that. But look, I mean, it's going to definitely be very open low the whole way. I mean, look, that whole low pressure in that dry air, you can just see it. And you're probably thinking, oh, that's nothing, Adrian. That's no dryer. It's right on this little part of the graph. Well, again, if it was very organized and strong, then that's right. But if it's going to be less than 60 miles an hour, extremely weak, that little dry air, that's equivalent to this color for a hurricane. And then last but not least, the shear. Like I did say, right now it's not going through any shear until it passes that Yucatan Peninsula line, and then it's going to have some shear to possibly interact with. As you do see, it's gonna be very close call. It's going to be a very close call because you have all that shear getting super close to that low pressure. And it just takes one little tad of little shear to open it up, really. It would have been a lot better if it did go through here. It would have been a lot better if it did that or if it did that. But obviously, that's not going to happen. It's too late for that to happen. It's already going due north, and then going to take that northwestern turn and due north turn into the Gulf Coast. But if you guys enjoyed the video, please don't have to like and subscribe, and bye, guys.